Hey, it's Aidan here, and in this week's sort of training video, I wanted to share the five. I'm gonna go with five here. 5 questions that I sort of used to rewrite and re-look at my entire set of performance repertoire. Because, well, for some context, first of all, just before the world went a bit weird, I gave myself a project, and that was to delete everything that I was doing in entertainment, from close up to stage, like all of my material, and rebuild it from the ground up and document the full process, and then actually be able to share that en masse and get feedback and things. However, then the world went a little bit weird for about 18 months, as I'm sure you're fully aware at this point, and I actually didn't really do that much of it. It was a perfect opportunity, but I didn't actually take it. But now, as I'm starting to get back into this whole world of writing new material and preparing this again, I'm actually picking up the mantle where I left off back in 2019, and there's been a few really prominent questions that I've managed to ask myself now, whilst actually looking at my close-up material in particular. And we're going to run through about 5 of the questions right now, and the first is quite simply, what is my vision of good magic? And again, for you, what is your vision of good magic? Because at the end of the day, it's one thing to actually go out there and be able to do, like, yeah, I'm doing these amazing shows, I'm doing these great close-up gigs, etc., etc. But if it doesn't fit your vision of good magic, A, you're not living up to your true potential, and B, you're letting your clients down in a way, because, like, yes, they're seeing amazing tricks, but if they're not the best tricks, or they're not what you think you can really pull out of the bag and what you think great magic is, you're missing something. There's a gap there. There's a discrepancy between what you're doing and what you're saying you're doing that I think we need to bridge, and the easiest way to do that is to start by literally checking, what is my vision of good magic? It really doesn't get any simpler than that. It can take a little while to actually think about this and explore it, but what is your vision of good magic? The second real clear question is actually, does it connect multiple passions? And by that, I don't mean does it allow you to do your unicycling and also throwing knives and all of this, that and the other, and also play the bagpipes all at the same time. I'm not saying that that's what it has to do, but really great performers do really well because there is a lot in it for them. Nice blast of sunlight there. There's a lot in it for them. They're not just doing the tricks, the mentalism routine. They're not just doing the packet trick. They're not just doing the witch hand or the hand stick. They're not just doing the trick for the sake of the trick. There is so much more that they're learning about, they're exploring, they're playing with. And that's because they're deeply passionate about this stuff, about scripting. They're really passionate about staging. They're really passionate about other people and connecting other people, for example. And what I really encourage is for you, like, does your material right now connect multiple passions of yours? Or are you stuck, are you just doing tricks for the sake of it, or because they're cool? Which, again, as you know at this point, doing tricks for the sake of being cool or doing cool tricks, it's just not good enough. So does it connect multiple passions? We're going to walk back up that way now, just because there's not really anything up there. But does it connect multiple passions? The third question really is kind of what I've been thinking about recently more than anything, but is this a tool or a trick? And what I mean by that is, quite simply, is this a tool that will allow you to achieve multiple different things? Is this a tool that's going to allow you to do, basically, but when we're doing close-up, we are mingling around with a lot of people. And we are, especially at events, we're mingling a lot, and we end up doing the same handful of tricks over and over and over again, which is just the nature of the beast. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no problems with that as such. But the challenge we get is that if we're doing the same methods and the same tricks over and over and over again, we can often have people watching from a distance, kind of working out bit by bit. And for me, the penny dropped when I was actually at a corporate gig. No, it was a wedding, actually. It was a wedding. I just had a corporate gig there a couple of months prior, but it was a wedding gig, and I was basically running on just billets, like peaking billets. That was pretty much it. And then somebody said to me, like, they reckon they know how you've done it, and that they think you're seeing how they're writing stuff. And I was like, oh, that's not the method, but it's close. It's bloody close. Yes, I was seeing what they were writing, but they thought how it's Like, I was spotting how they were writing the thing. So again, like, this is just a really clear point of, is it a tool or is it a trick? Is it a trick that is allowing you to just repeat an overdrive, or is it a tool in that people can watch it over and over and over and it feels different every single time? And a great example is that billet peak, for example. Now, in my situation, I was just doing the same trick over and over again. I was just revealing a word over and over and over, which was great, but wasn't good enough. Now, turning that into a tool was it was a simple decision. It's just like literally realizing that any piece of information can go into that peak. It's like open-ended, anything, that words, names, numbers, pictures, anything. But the way I was revealing it was pretty similar the whole time. It was always the same kind of stuff. So actually being able to open it up to any piece of information and reveal it in as many different ways as I possibly could, it just gives me the flexibility then to mix it up, even if I'm doing the same thing over and over again. So a kind of long-winded way of saying, like, I think we need to be choosing more tools in our performance repertoire than actual just tricks, doing more tricks. Instead, pick more tools. And we did record a Just the Tip podcast on this called Evergreen Material. I believe it was Evergreen Material. I think it was. It'll be linked around somewhere if we can find it again. But again, that's question number 3. So to recap, what is your vision of good magic? Number 2 is, does it connect multiple passions? Number 3 is it a tool or a trick? And number 4 is, will I enjoy it? Because at the end of the day, it's all well and good saying this is an amazing trick, it fits my vision of good magic, it's the perfect tool, it connects things that I'm interested in and passionate about, which is awesome, all good. But if I'm just not going to enjoy performing that one routine for whatever reason, even if it's a small subtle reason, bam, you're done. Even if it can be as ridiculous as, like, I just don't like the risk involved with revealing a password because I don't know how my spectator's going to react, or a pin code or something. Like, it doesn't have to be huge, but if you're not enjoying 100% of that routine and performing that routine, there are big problems at play. Just because you're not going to enjoy it the most, and you're going to show up worse and worse and worse at it over time. We're trying the whole backwards walking now, but I don't think it's working. But the final part, the final 5th question that I'm going to share here is quite simply, what is the takeaway story? What is the takeaway story? So what is the thing that people are going to remember about this performance? What is that narrative? Because we've all performed tricks for people, and we've all done routines where they've immediately said, you pulled out the deck of cards that, oh, I know this one. Or they proceed to tell you about this amazing card trick that happened. They can't remember anything about who the performer was or what the actual thing is. But and they give this half-hearted attempt at telling you what the card trick was. But if we start reverse engineering our process, in that we work out what the heck we want that narrative to be, we work out what the heck we want that story to be ahead of time, that takeaway story that people will be telling their friends year after year after year, and the other magicians that they meet, if ever they meet them, we get to create the most powerful demonstrations that our art can offer. You know, when I was talking to Nate Staniforth, he came over to the UK back in October 2019, I believe it was, to do a workshop on making tricks into magic. And my really amazing takeaway was that he was talking about this concept of going biblical. You look at all of the stories in the Bible, and like Jesus, he turned water into wine. Like, that is a ridiculous story. That's a really clear-cut takeaway. And that's what people talk about and remember. And again, we're just presuming that Jesus was a magician at this point, because we can. But the point there is, like, we need to go about incredible stories. We need to go about creating incredible stories, and stories that our audience are actually going to get excited to remember the right details for. So they're not just going to say, oh yeah, I met a magician the other day down the pub, yeah, he was amazing, yeah, I did some cool card tricks, yeah, no, he was really, really good. Instead, we want them to be able to remember in vivid detail everything that you did, what went on, the whole dynamic, because A, that makes a better story and they're more likely to talk about you, and B, they're more likely to become raving fans. So it's a really clear-cut thing, and when raving fans are there, they're going to refer you, they're going to book you themselves, they're going to come to your shows, they're going to support you online, they're going to do so much more than just give you a little applause and say well done at the end of the trick. But yeah, they're 5 kind of key questions. I've kind of rambled my way through those a little bit there, but they're really important. I thought about these a lot when it comes down to creating my new material, and I'll be honest, I think I'm a significantly better performer as a result of it, and I encourage that you take any of these and run with it. And if there's a comments box around this video, if it's on socials or wherever it ends up, by all means drop a comment. Let me know your biggest takeaways from these 5 principles, questions, whatever you want to call them. And are there any questions that you actually use when you're developing material? Is there anything outside of the 5 that I've mentioned here that you use as like a qualifying checklist to actually work on your stuff? But with that said, I hope you enjoyed this. It's a nice little training video for you. Keep safe, and we'll see you very soon.